Ah yes, the Mercedes-Benz 2024 GLS 450 W4. An amazing full-size SUV from Mercedes-Benz. And today we're going to look at this vehicle. But you know I can't just look at this vehicle without controversy, because I have something else. Something that is also a full-size SUV, but it's about as different as it can be. One of these is a car-based SUV of massive proportions. The other is a truck-based one of massive proportions. One is designed to primarily transport people in great comfort, and the other is designed to transport people in great comfort anywhere, even up the side of Mount Rushmore if necessary. Well, that would be a bit of an exaggeration, but anyway. On the right we have the 2023 Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. So we got a couple of real interesting things here. On the left we have a vehicle that is a unibody construction. On the right is a body-on-frame truck construction. They have almost identical wheelbases, almost identical size engines, and get this, there's a cat in my shot. Hi! Hello, Mr. Aberdeen. Look at these things and realize that there is in fact hybridization going on. Look at it, he's climbing right up the tire. What the hell is the cat doing here? I think he prefers the Toyota, that's just my feeling. But anyway, the power plant on the Sequoia is a hybrid, but guess what? So is the one on the Mercedes, just a milder version. So what do we have? We have a comparison. Come, join us. See which one is the thing you would pick. Look at that wheelbase on this Mercedes-Benz GLS 450 W4. 123 inches from axle to axle. And as you can tell, it's a wagon. It's a big wagon. And it, in fact, is, as you look at it right now, what you're seeing is it is in the comfort suspension setting, which means it's actually lowered to the ground. And that is because it does in fact have a full air suspension, which is one of the most outstanding developments that has ever affected the automotive world, except for the fact that they break a lot. they can cause trouble, but I'm not saying this one does. This one, on the other hand, is though massive, it actually has a whopping 1 inch shorter wheelbase, 122 inches. So both of these vehicles basically have the same wheelbase. And they both have 3 rows. They're both big wagons, as you can see, but they're completely different in their execution, in that this TRD Pro is of course based on the Toyota Tundra pickup truck, and it has a huge stout truck frame and the ability to tow a whopping 9,020 pounds. Whereas the Mercedes is a unibody construction, and it can tow only 7,700 pounds, which is actually pretty substantial. So with an air suspension on this one, and then basically an off-road suspension on this one, supplemented with Fox shocks, you know, the multi-reservoir type of things, and a basic suspension that is designed to take a lot of punishment without punishing the people inside, you have a real different kind of mission statement from each when you see them. Now most people would associate this with like going to the country club, possibly going to a ski resort. But this air suspension will lift it up high enough for off-road work to a point. But it's not as rugged, obviously, as the TRD Pro. And that said, does that mean that it rides so much smoother than the TRD Pro, right? Because it's a crossover. Well, not necessarily. You'd be surprised. Whenever you have the design objectives of being able to go off-road, and you can stiffen up the suspension dramatically on the Mercedes just by pumping air into the airbags, which is how it lifts the chassis off the ground. You have a situation there where it may or may not handle that good off-road in really rugged situations where there's a lot of, rocks, stuff like that. Whereas the TRD Pro is more designed to handle that in a conventional manner. Now, it has a non-air suspension. It has a four-wheel coil suspension. Why is that hard to say? A four-wheel coil suspension. Now, on some Sequoia models, you can get a load leveling rear air suspension. I don't think it's available on the TRD. It might be, but this particular one before you is not equipped with an air suspension in the back. It's 100% coils all the way around. It is a very, very close relative to the Tundra. The chassis being such that, oh, by the way, before I forget, you like your mirrors large? These are the optional towing mirrors, which are huge and absolutely fantastic for towing. But as you can tell, this is a truck. I mean, it's not going to be mistaken for anything other than a truck, while at the same time, this is more of an automobile, and it's not going to be mistaken for anything other than a crossover SUV. So let's get under the hood, because this is where we really get interesting. These two vehicles are so similar in what they're designed to do, and yet at the same time, everything about them is a little different from each other. I mean, they both have 6-cylinder engines. They're both turbocharged. Both have automatic transmissions. And both have what I consider to be a mild hybrid, although I'm sure Toyota would argue about that and say, no, it's not mild. It is more of an integral part of the drive system, which there's some truth to that. But at the same time, the Mercedes does have an electric motor on it that puts out the same amount of torque as the electric motor on the Sequoia. Crazy, huh? Anyway, let's look under the hood and we'll talk more about this. I was born under a pointed star. Ah, wow, look at here. This is Mercedes-Benz territory. The GLS 450 W4 has a 3-liter V6? No, it's an inline 6, which is really interesting because I recently said I was driving around in that new Mazda CX-90, marveling at the fact that it had an inline 6-cylinder engine that was turbocharged. The only other one I said that I knew about that was common now is in Stellantis land, where we have both Jeep and Ram sporting a inline 6-cylinder turbocharged engine. But here we are. Mercedes has had one for, I have no idea how long, but years. But there you go. Underneath this shroud, you have a longitudinally mounted engine, not transverse, but longitudinal, 3 liters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's your cylinders underneath there. And over here on the passenger side is a world of turbocharging plumbing and all kinds of metallic heat shields and all the rest of it. It's kind of crammed in here, but I think you'll find that's going to be true with the Sequoia as well. But we got our beautiful, exciting dual air intakes here. And why dual air intakes? Is one for the perhaps going directly into the turbocharger, and the other is going directly into the the fuel injection system. Well, turbocharger and exhaust here, fuel injection and everything else on the driver's side of the car. So turbo around here, she comes around the back here, and see back here, don't touch it. Don't touch any of that, so right there. Just stay the hell away from that. But the air comes in, gets the exhaust, spins the turbine, which then spins the impeller, which then compresses the cool air that's brought in, Or is it brought in cool? No, it's not. It comes around and then goes through an intercool system after it has been compressed, and then that helps to cool it down before it goes all the way over to the injection side and pumps into our, with using direct injection, I believe, that's what everybody's using these days, into the 6 cylinders. Now, is there just one turbocharger or two? I believe there's just one. When you get into inline 6-cylinder engines especially, it's true with 4s to a certain extent, when you're turbocharging, there's all kinds of exhaust gas situations that come out because the cylinders are releasing their exhaust at in different times of the rotation cycle of the crankshaft. So to balance all this out and have a nice smooth flow of regular turbocharging, sometimes there's 2 turbochargers, or sometimes they have what BMW calls twin power, which is a way of scavenging the exhaust such that you always have that nice smooth flow of exhaust to turn the turbocharger, especially at lower RPMs, at a speed that will produce the power you're looking for. So, and by the way, while I'm here, look at the size of these beams here. Now, this is part of the structure of the vehicle, and I would imagine that is also extremely beneficial when it comes to collision. There's one over here too. But these things are definitely designed, I believe, to absorb energy in an impact. That's my feeling. Your battery is underneath here, by the way. Now, I mentioned before a hybrid system. Well, I don't see any trace of it up here. So I don't see any of the orange cables, which would be mandatory if you're using a higher voltage system. So I don't know what's going on with that, in terms of where it's located, but it is there. And let me give you some numbers. Here we go. I got my data. The engine itself, the gas inline 6, puts out 362 horsepower at between 5,500 RPM and 6,100 RPM as a peak. Way on up there. And then the torque value is 369 foot-pounds of torque between 1,600 and 4,000 RPM. So that's a nice low. 1,600 in particular, that's a nice low torque peak down there. Now the electric boost system adds up to 21 horsepower and puts out 184 pounds of feet in the torque department. So I've had a real problem, and I still haven't heard back from Mercedes-Benz about fairing, because one piece of information I have from them says the total output of this engine is 375 horsepower, and the other says the aforementioned 362 horsepower. Maybe the 375 is if you throw in that 21 horsepower electro boost, but I'm not positive if that's the case or not. But anyhow, there's so much nice finishing work going on here, including this. This looks like it looks like carbon fiber. It's clearly not, I don't think, but it's something similar to it. It's some kind of a dynamic polymer weave here. And is everything easy to get to? Well, here's your oil. It doesn't tell you. It just says recommended Mercedes-Benz oil, but it doesn't tell me what the flavor is. I'm assuming, I'm going to guess, since it's not prominently displayed, I'm going to guess it's 0W20, but who knows? Could be 5W30. Who knows? I could find out for you. Maybe I will. And here's an interesting little fitting right here. I don't know what that's for. But so there you are. It's kind of a mystery box. If I pulled this off, you'd be able to actually see, which I could do, but I'm scared to death to break these. I'm also waiting for Mercedes-Benz to tell me what this thing costs. They start out at $75,000, I know that, and it's well over that because it's got optional things. So that is our Mercedes-Benz inline 6. Now for something completely different. Over here we have the iForce Max from Toyota, which powers the things like the Tundra Capstone and various other Tundra models, and it is the standard power plant on the Sequoia. And what has it got? Well, it's got a huge, look at the space here up front. This is kind of amazing. There's a huge area here. A dog could sleep down there if they wanted to. But this is a huge, massive bit of air in front of the the front of the engine. And I think one of the areas that Toyota worked really hard on with this twin turbo V6 is cooling, because there are two big intercoolers. There's one located behind here, in here, and there's one over here, right here. And then you have a massive radiator here, and you have an electric fan here. They're catty cornered. There's an electric fan here, and then there's an electric fan down there. And now where's our engine? Oh, there it is. And here's our V6. 3.5 liter, they say, but everybody knows it's not a 3.5 liter. It is, in fact, a 3.4 liter. Why Toyota insists on calling it a 3.5 makes zero sense to me. The only thing I can come up with is that the Ford EcoBoost, which is a direct competitor, is in fact a 3.5 liter. So maybe they're telling, even though the horsepower is, there's nothing, well, first of all, this engine, the total output of this engine with its hybrid system is 437 horsepower at 5,200 RPM and 583 pounds of feet in the torque department at 2,400 RPM. So those are big, big numbers from a 3.4 liter engine. And the hybrid system, now we can actually see some of these cables here running around, and it starts over in here and runs all the way over here to where the actual part of the motor system is. That's probably just a big CPU, I'm assuming, because the motor itself is sandwiched in between the V6 engine and the 10-speed automatic transmission. Oh, by the way, this guy over here, that's got a 9-speed automatic. I should have told you that, sorry. And we have a 10, so we have one extra speed with the Toyota. But anyway, so where does everything happen? Well, air cleaner intake. There's a turbocharger. Since it's a V6 and it is in fact mounted longitudinally, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The turbocharging side is on both sides. So we have an exhaust manifold with these 3 cylinders and then a turbocharger below that. Same thing over here. It is like symmetrical. Down yonder. And here's our air intake that goes into the turbocharger itself. As you can kind of see down in there, it is a bit of a mess and it is a bit cramped in, but I can tell you right now, just from looking at these two engines, even though you would think because of the thin, long profile of the inline 6 and the Mercedes that there would be more room around that engine, but there is not. These are both packed in here pretty good, but surprisingly, I would say the Toyota actually has a little bit more room. And there is electricity all over the place because there's orange cables, orange fittings. There's a lot of orange going on here. That's the way they do things. But normally right here is where I would have our placard telling me what oil to use, but it's not there. Does it say there? What do you think? What do you reckon? Well, I believe it uses, I should know this by heart by now. I think it's 020. Yes, it is. It's 0W20 oil, 016 for different hybrids in the Toyota family, like the RAV4 hybrid and the Prius. And then you get to 0W8, which the Crown and the new Grand Highlander have. So that's your oils on your Toyota. They're getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, and some people are worried about long-term durability, but all I can tell you is they know what they're doing. And the most critical part of it all is the cold flow. And I mean cold, even if the low temperature was 70 degrees last night. When you first start that engine, that's where most of the wear takes place. So these oils that have this outstanding low temperature or cold flow characteristics are really good at protecting your engine. So feast on that, if you will. So anyway, we got the air going in, we got the exhaust, we have the turbocharger that's in the impeller, and incidentally and this is more common than I thought it was, but when I first saw it on the new Toyota Tundra hybrid engines and everything, I was real impressed with. Actually, this is not even a hybrid thing. This is just a twin turbocharging thing, but the exhaust manifold is part of the head, so that it actually has plumbing in it for cooling. So it helps keep the cool of the turbocharging, keeps all that heat under control much more effectively because it's right there mixing with the coolant system. And speaking of which, what do we have in terms of reservoirs? Well, you got these reservoirs right here. One of them is probably for your electric motor system, and the other is for the engine. I think they take the same. Here we go. Oh, this is for the intercooler. Isn't it nice? They showed it to us. That's for the intercooler, and that is for the engine itself. So, and very easy to service. It's right there. Now, like I said, I can't get over, look, this amazing gap in the front of the, before the engine there, all that air supply, which I think, I haven't heard anything about these things overheating, and I bet they don't. My only big complaint about this engine is the hood. It's the same hood situation as on the Tundra, and it doesn't open enough. It needs to open wider. That's all I'm saying, Toyota. I don't know why you can't get it up higher than that. Just looking at it offhand, it vexes me, but I'm sure that everything's done for a reason. But so anyway, did I give you those numbers? Yes, I did. And like I said, the electric power boost, hang on there, power boost on this one, the electric side is 36 kilowatts, which is the equivalent of 48 horsepower, so a little over twice the horsepower that the Mercedes has, but they both have the same torque value on these electric motors, which I find fascinating. And those motors are weenies compared to like the RAV4 hybrid. Has a much, much stronger motor system. I think even the Prius does. And the Sienna, that's the king of the motors right there, because that has a very strong electric motor input in the hybrid system. That's why it's a big minivan, 3 rows, all that stuff, and it can handle all those passengers and all that weight, and still get in the mid-30s in miles per gallon, which is quite an achievement in my opinion. So anyway, as I mentioned with the towing, with our Toyota, we have 9,020 pounds worth of towing ability, and it can haul a payload of this particular, this is the exact model, this is the exact value rather for this vehicle before you, 1,350 pounds of payload. The Mercedes has a payload capacity of 1,301, so they're roughly about the same. And then in terms of towing, the Mercedes is 7,700 pounds, so it's down quite a bit compared with the Sequoia, but the Sequoia has so much more power. Now, something else I find interesting is the curb weight. You're looking right there at a curb weight of 5,412 pounds. And let me put the hood down here. And the curb weight of this vehicle before you is 6,150 pounds. So it's definitely heavier, but it does have the body on frame construction, and it is, after all, a truck. So, interesting. Now, it's really going to get interesting when we get into the interior, because there's actually more passenger room in the Mercedes third row, which you wouldn't be surprised, because when they made the modification to build this vehicle, the new Sequoia, they did something that I don't like. This vehicle used to have, rather than the live axle, the same rear suspension that the Tundra has, live axle, coil springs, it had an independent rear suspension that worked really well on the the 2021, I guess it was a 2022 also, Tundra. And, Sequoia. And it was a really good system because it also allowed the floor in the back of the vehicle to be lower. Because when you have an independent suspension like that, you don't need room for the rear axle to move up and down like this. So when it moves up and down like this as a unit, the way this one does, the floor has to be higher or it's going to bang into the floor. So there's less room, there's less leg room, the floor being higher in the Sequoia. Now, let's have a look at this cargo area, because this is kind of awkward, to be honest with you. What we have is a 3-row, and I have our 3rd row deployed right now, and then this has kind of a utility thing where you can put all these different sizes up here. as far as when you want to put this bench. But the thing is, you'd like a nice flat load floor, right? Well, this is nice. You have the ability to, there we go. Let's go both of them, huh? Look at that, power lowering of the third row. But there you go. But look, flat? No, it's not. You got a platform you got to go over. And then of course you can also fold the second row. But as near as I can tell, I can't find anything in the owner's manual that says you can actually remove this third row seat right here. You see these tracks here, it actually slides forward and back depending on where you have it for your rear seat passengers. So that's kind of a mess in my opinion as far as the design front, because you like something that folds completely away and is very simple to deal with. You still have a ton of room here. What are our values? Let's look at our values. Well, this is saying between 23 and 11.5, or is that 11.5 and 23 cubic feet of space with the seats deployed, which I will now redeploy just because I like pushing these buttons. It's fun. Whee! So that's all the way back here. That's the maximum amount of space you're going to get with these seats out, as you can see. I'll put this one back here. There we go. Now, if that's folded, they're claiming 49 cubic feet of space. And then if that row is folded and the second row is folded, you have a total of 86.9 cubic feet of space. So, I mean, that's it's awkward. That's all I can say. It's almost like it's a compromise in a way to put a third row in there when it's really not designed for that. Can you get it without the third row, a Sequoia? Well, not the TRD Pro. I don't believe you can. I don't know. Talk to your Toyota dealer. Try to make a deal. Tell them to get their wrenches on it and do something. And there's one other thing and they took away one of my favorite things about the old Sequoia. And if they do this with the new 4Runner, I'm going to be very put out. But we used to have a beautiful electric window right here that you press a button and it slides in and out just like the wagons of old. But this one, you don't get that. All you get is this. You can pop it open, but that's it. And at least you can do that. I'll give them credit for that. They're trying to make up for their weird design choice. I'm sure it probably has something to do with aerodynamics. But there you go. That is your cargo for your Sequoia. Now let's look at this beast, the GLS 450. 450. It says 4MATIC, but we call it 4W. All right. Wow. Very different aspect. Now our third row is deployed, and as you can tell, it looks like there's more room there. Now I could have sworn I wrote all this down. I don't see it. I promise I'll put it at the bottom of the screen. But I'm almost certain that you have more cargo area in this vehicle. There we go. And oops. And there we go. Folding forward. Look at how nice and clean this is. Nice flat load floor. Perfect. Whereas, you know, you look at the Sequoia by comparison and it looks like an afterthought, but that is a very, very roomy rear end to it. We also have a panoramic roof in this one. The Sequoia just has a standard moonroof. Not a huge deal, but I really like the panoramas. They add a lot. Both these vehicles have captain's chairs, and both of them, interestingly enough, have like aisle access to the rear seat area, the third seat, I should say. So we'll get more into that when we do the interior, but there you go. That's kind of a nice setup. I kind of approve of it. Oh, one thing I didn't do on the other one, and I apologize, the Sequoia does have a spare tire, and I believe it's a full-size spare. I'll double check that. But this one, on the other hand, has a temporary spare. And it may be temporary on the Sequoia too, but it's very easy to get at provided you're not loaded. The Sequoia The panels on the side open up and you have a jack, you have all your stuff. Here's a first aid kit here. Whoops. It says first aid. I guess if you're a robot, that's your robotic first aid kit situation there. I can't get this back in. Oh, I'm most dreadfully embarrassed. Here we go. Here we go. Look at problem solving. Look at that. I'm figuring it out. Figuring it out. There we go. Where's the jack and all that stuff? I think it's down here. Yeah. There's our jack. Whoop. Right amongst the temporary spare tire. So both of these will keep going. If you are on the trail, you have a flat, you do something like that, you have provision of putting on something that will in fact, there we go. Here we come. Gonna put that back. There we go. Very fast too. So there you go. Now, but here is an area that where the Sequoia does do something better towards the rear of the vehicle. I don't think there is a way to open that up there. Nope, there's not. So you don't have any provision for opening that rear window at all, electric or otherwise. So there you go. Very different vehicles, right? And yet they do the same thing. I mean, they're both designed to house a lot of people and things and haul them along comfortably through all kinds of weather, and in the case of the Sequoia, through all kinds of rugged terrain. Oh yes, we mustn't forget the wheels. Apparently we have AMG wheels on our Mercedes GLS 450, which is an option, I would assume. Don't have the sticker yet, still waiting. But our tire size is 275 45 R21, so we have 21 inches in our wheel department, and that is a big wheel. These are all season Pirelli Scorpion Zeros. Now Zeros, does that mean it's a run flat? I don't think it is, but it's not an RT, an LT tire, that's for sure. And LT tires, of course, are more heavy in construction and more truck capable than these things, but these are good tires, I'm sure, because Pirelli makes excellent tires. It's just a real good all-season tire. Wasn't snow rated, but not severe service snow rated, as far as I can tell. No, it is not. So, but meanwhile, over here we have a very famous tire, which I have. I have a set of these myself. Oh, by the way, massive discs and rotors on this Mercedes, bigger than that on the Tundra, by the way. But we'll see if there's any big difference in towing that I need to, braking that I need to talk about, because they're probably both quite good. The Mercedes being better, of course. It's lighter and has bigger brakes. But the wheel size on our Falcon Wild Peak tires is in fact, where is our size? There it is. 285, 65, R18. So these are just 18s, but look at how much meatier the tire is. It's much more in keeping with its all-terrain mission in life. And the Wild Peak is a true off-road capable tire. It's also a severe service winter rated tire. So, and then what does that really mean? Well, people don't talk about that enough, because it's important if you live out in the West in particular. You'll go over some of these mountain passes in the winter and they have a chain lawing effect, which means you have to have chains on your vehicle, unless you have that severe service marker, which means they qualify as snow tires, in which case most of the highway department and the state troopers and everything will okay your ability to go up with snow tires if you have those, and you won't have to struggle with your chains. But this one does, in fact, is qualified. I believe, I can't see it. I have a set of these, so I know that it has it. We have two sets of them, actually. I don't see it, but it's here somewhere. Oh, these are not, now this is interesting. This is real interesting. These also are not LT tires. Now, I would have thought this would be the LT version, but it's actually the P metric version. So it's not a heavier construction than basically what the Mercedes has with the Pirellis. It's a good stout tire, to be sure, but it's not all the way to the LT rating, which I find that unusual, especially on the TRD Pro. I could see it on every other Sequoia model, but on this particular one, you would think it would have the heavier duty LT tires, but there she blows. That's what it has. All right. So I told a lie, a filthy lie. I did think this had the severe service wintertime symbol on it that I was talking about, these Falcon Wild Peaks, but no, it does not. I just looked at mine, which are the LT, the light truck rated tires, same model tire, just a different weight and construction rating, and it does have the severe service symbol, but this does not. So I guess it's kind of a tie between this and the Pirellis on the Mercedes, because this doesn't really look like it's got that as deep a tread either. This is a different tire. But anyway, this is what it comes with on your TRD Pro, and I'm sure it's a wonderful, beautiful Falcon tire because they make wonderful, beautiful tires. But anyway, I think that's interesting with everything else on this truck being super heavy duty and designed for your TRD Pro activities. This is more geared towards, these tires are probably a little better on pavement. That's what I have to admit, compared to other Falcon Wild Peaks. But anyway, enough about tires. I'm obsessed. Tires are important. This is take 19. Yes, it's still to prevent the vehicle from switching off automatically, tap here. Here, I'm going to tap there. God, I'm not getting along with this vehicle at all. Okay, here's our instrument cluster. It is flat screen. It is once again mimicking what an analog gauge cluster looks like. It's very, very attractive in its own way. And you have some alternatives here which you can have displayed in the middle of your adventure here. The eco display, only 2 out of 5. Well, that's not like me. Consumption, 0.3 gallons per hour. Very important information for you to have. Attention assist, system is suspended. Yeah, that's, I don't want them bugging me with that crap. And there's our navigation, and there's our trip meter and our odometer below it. Now, look at here. Oh, this is fun. If we go over here and select this, look at that. That's sport. And it's kind of a red overtone all the way around here. And look what happens if you give it the gun here. You got the tachometer at the bottom that just spins up. Very, very smooth engine this, by the way. This inline 6-cylinder turbocharged engine is a marvel of smoothness. It really is. It's a great engine. Probably my favorite thing about this vehicle. But we have other things we can do. We can also go to, let's go understated, shall we? Yes, understated. It's much mellower. There's not a lot to see here in the understated realm. There's a clock on the right, a speedometer on the left, and it doesn't even show you. It goes to 10 and then 20 and then there's nothing there, because right now you don't need to see that till you get there. I'm gonna have to drive around with that in place and see what it does, because that's kind of fun. All right, well, so we've had our understated, and we've had our sport, we've had our classic, and this is navigation. And there's navigation. The entire thing is a navigational realm. Now, I'm way out here in the ether. I look like kind of one of those flight simulators, and I'm just kind of drifting off course. But there's that. If you want to have a full screen navigation system in your gauge cluster, there it is. Still giving you your speed down here, still giving you your fuel supply down here, and then our power and charge meter over here, because as I mentioned, this has got a very, very mild hybrid system, but it is there, and it does kick in and help from time to time doing something. Probably baseline acceleration a little bit. But anyway, what else? Do we have more? Oh, assistance. May I see some assistance, please? Ooh, so there's our assistance, and once again, we are out there on the road And this will tell us if we have vehicles in front of us and all that great stuff. And this is also telling us that it's got the blind spot warning on over here. You can see that. Pedestrian is off, I guess. I don't know. Unclear to me. But, and there, let's go look at another. Do we have another selection? Off-road. Oh yeah, baby. Let's do that. Now, as you can see, we have our inclinometer. We have our side-to-side. We've got everything. We've got a compass that has 2 different displays. You got this one, we're headed about 29 degrees off of north, which is actually very accurate right now. And then you got this compass rose up here, this arrow up here too, so that's some fun. And this, your steering wheel angle, look, 3 degrees, 2 degrees. You see what I'm doing there? See up here, right there? Yep, mm-hmm. So, oh, isn't that a neat display? Yeah, it is. It's very neat. But you still have your baselines here, and you still have your, whether or not your steering, your lane centering is activated, and of course, your speedometer right there. Is there more? Service? Service? What the hell's that mean? Message, warnings, coolant temperature, engine oil is okay. Tire pressure, it will be displayed after a few minutes, which is surprising. I would have thought it would have direct read sensors on this thing, but you know, not always. So let's go back to my favorite, although those are all very attractive. And there is our classic. So that's our display system. Now, something else you may notice right off the bat, over here, this is our shifter. Just like the old days when you used to put the automatic transmission shifter, or even 3 on the tree, if you had a manual transmission, is right here. And you put your foot on the brake, down is drive, and it tells us also what gear we're going to be in, which is kind of nice. Now, what's this? That's park. The button on the end of this is park. So if we go back down into drive, there's drive, and there's neutral. In permanently active, risk of rolling away. I got my foot on the brake, chill. And then we have reverse. And while I'm in reverse, excellent reverse cameras, as you would expect from Mercedes. They have the 360 view over here, and then you have your typical thing here. And what do we have over on the right-hand side here? What's this here? Ooh, look, you can see the rain coming down out there. Isn't that something else? I don't even want to talk about it. I'm so fed up with it. And there's puddles over there too. And look, we have a stream rolling through there. Mind-boggling. And here's in the front, right there. Everywhere you look, we're flooding again. This was like 2 days ago we had this. We had a grand total of about 7 inches of rain, and now it's doing it again. It doesn't rain here like this very often. So anyway, back to park, and there we go. What else do we have on our steering wheel while we're here? Well, here's some... secretaries. See, there's your... These slides, which are incidentally just activated by your finger, are really fussy. Sometimes they work really easily, and sometimes they don't work all that well. And that goes for all of this stuff. I find it irritating, to be honest with you, because it's very slick, very impressive looking, but it doesn't always work very well. And I'll be into the functional. That's me. I do prefer the functional. But anyway, there's where your access, dial them up and say goodbye. This is where you activate the voice command, which I have completely shut off because it keeps coming on when I don't want it to. I'm just driving around talking to somebody on the phone, and boom, and it starts asking me, what would you like me to do? And it's supposed to be cued to this thing called, hey, Mercedes. And no. Anyway, I've turned that off finally. And over here is our cruise control. Here is our distance, following distance. And our set, same thing, this weird slide configuration, resume and cancel. So there's all that. Our light control center is right here. And here's your parking brake all the way over yonder, which we're not in. I got to turn it on here. There we go. The parking brake is now on. Automatic is kind of funky because that's the default in the detent position. Here's your front fog lights, and here's this, which I don't even know what that is. I've just probably deactivated something I needed to keep activated. But And here is one of our Brennmeister speakers in the door, and your adjustment for your seat is typical Mercedes, and a few others actually, is on the side here. I still to this day am not overly impressed with that design, but a lot of people are picking it up, so what are you going to do? Here's heated seats all the way over here also. This is your seating area here. And here's your ventilation, which I'm going to leave on 1. And this side here is R. I have no idea what the hell that does. And here's our door, but look at where our door lock and unlock here. It's right in there, in that little cubby. That's kind of strange. Here's your mirrors. Here's your, you know all that stuff. Now the central screen. Yes, there it is. This is navigated primarily using this touchpad right here. Hear that little clicky noise? What do I have to say about it? I find it kind of, I like the palm rest you have here, but overall, it's not the world's easiest thing to use to navigate this stuff, but it's what they gave us. So, while I'm here, I'm going to put my phone in here to charge. There we go. Are you charging? Yay, well done. Here's our dynamic control. Now, what is that? Well, we have, look at all the modes we have. We have individual, sport, comfort, eco, and off-road. Now, you have to activate a drive program and everything else to go off-road into the off-road settings. I'm not sure why that is, other than it implies that it's a lot more complicated than you may think, because it may be changing transmission ratios somehow. It may be engine and throttle response may be changing. It definitely changes the setting of the air suspension, which we can play with right here. I'll show you that in just a second. But here's our cameras, which are used for parking, and again, all kinds of cameras. That's an amazing one, isn't it? Look at this weird looking car over here. Well, that's just distortion. That's what that is. We have that, and here we have our kind of our main access to the basic settings for like your electronic stability control. You can lower and raise. You can lower the suspension quite a bit on this car for access. Car wash mode, which that makes sure all the windows go down, so all the soap and stuff comes in the car to help clean your upholstery. That's what that's for. Active steering assist, which is turned off. Active lane keeping, which is turned off. Now, if you want to go to manual shifting, you got to do that. Exactly how that works, you can probably just activate it through the paddles, I would think, but there you go. Downhill speed control right there. Active stop and go assist, interior protection, and tow away alarm, and all that good stuff. So that's what that does for you. On the right side, we have navigation and map, your radio and media. We'll go to our map. There we go. There's our map. And telephone, and here we have the volume and on-off for your stereo. This middle section here is, of course, your climate control, and it is probably the most logical of all the controls on this vehicle. Temperature up and down, automatic mode, a menu in the setting. Well, let's put it on here. There's a menu of all the different things you can do with your climate control. You have your maximum defroster. You have here's your flashers, rear defroster, all that good stuff. And actually these two sides, these two zones are now synced together at 68 degrees, I believe. Yes. So there we have that. Then we have our phone charging area, which I just showed you. Then we have a couple of USB-C ports, a couple of, what does this do here? Does it make it hot or cold or something? I don't know what these are for, but they're attractive. Oh, maybe it has something to do with, I don't know. There's a lot of fancy stuff on this car that I will never understand, because it's above my pay grade, to be honest with you. What else do I have to show you? Like I said, this trackpad works fairly well. It has its drawbacks from time to time, but you know, what are you going to do? I just hit the star thing, and I asked for favorites, and it's not going to show me favorites, so I have to navigate up and hit that, and nothing's happening. I guess it's because the stereo's not on. God, I tell you, they are sticklers. And here we have our air suspension control, which you can raise it. We'll raise it just because we want to. And as you can see, it says at the bottom there, we are rising. And you can see the hood lift up, and you can feel the back end lift up. Amazing. It's also, when it's in its normal mode, it's also regulating things to the point so that the car remains fairly level. It's a very elaborate system, as you would expect from Mercedes-Benz. Okay, we come back further aft, and here's our very generous console with the clamshell doors, USB-C. My hat is very wet, as you can see, because of, oh, there's some leaves on there too. I mean, my gosh, it's a hellscape outside. Here's your leather, or is it something else? Well, I'd tell you, but I'm still waiting on the Monroney from Mercedes and the fleet company or somebody. I'm begging everyone, please send me a Monroney, because I at least tell these wonderful people watching this video how much this thing costs. I do not have that trouble with the Sequoia that I'm comparing this car to, because I have a Monroney for that. These are great, by the way. These grippers, this is if you really want to do your off-road duty. This vehicle is probably fairly capable, although I've had a few instances in this wet weather where there has been a little bit more wheel spin than I would have expected from something that has an all-wheel drive system and all the traction controls contained within. So, all right, there's our front seat. Now we got 2 more seats to do. We'll do them real fast for you, okay? Okay, we're going outside in the rain now. Pudulars. Big back door, opens about 90 degrees. And here we have our captain's chairs. And a real mess back here. God, where did this come from? I'm putting that in the pocket. Okay, so we got a lot of room with our captain's chairs. Do we have the ability? Look at this, electric adjustments for rake and tilt and slide forward and back, even the headrest. Now, one thing we don't have that I believe the Sequoia does have, and this is very surprising, no window shades, unless there's something going on here I don't know about. Nope, there isn't. And somebody's turning. Why do they always do this? Well, the windows are locked, and I got to try to figure out. There it is. Hang on one second. Let's go together. There we go. All right, now let's try and see how far the window will go down. It's a big window, by the way, and you have a fairly low, all the way, 100%, very good. As you can probably tell, the belt line is fairly low, which is good because it adds to a sense of roominess that you already have anyway, because it's roomy. You have a very mild drive shaft tunnel. You got a really awful launch issue backpack back from a BMW motorcycle intro, and that is probably the worst backpack I've ever owned in my life. I hate it to death. Why do I use it? I don't know. And here we have our climate control for the second row, and it pretty much everything's here that you would want. You have your temperature settings, 2 different zones, the whole 9 yards. And do we have heated? No, not that I can see anywhere. We do not have heated, but we have a lot of other things. Is auto on? No, there we go. There we go. This is interesting. This is for a tiny cup. Huh. Regular cup, tiny cup. I like it. I think that's quite interesting. All right, something just happened that I hope did not affect this imagery. If it did, God, everything's going wrong today. Nice panorama though, huh? It is extremely big and extremely, again, these things always add to the airiness of the back of the cabin, and that's one of the reasons I really like them. Naturally have a huge shade that comes all the way forward, power actuated, that the captain in the front can control, or the co-pilot, either one of those two. But there's plenty of leg room, there's plenty of headroom, and I really do like having this adjustability because it makes it so much nicer. There's a degree of semi-flatness. It doesn't have the greatest side bolsters in the world, this thing here. Here's this, we'll put that back up there. But there we have our armrest flips up, and if we want to get in the back seat, who the hell's this? We can just go on back there, just like I'm doing here, right through the aisle, like you're on an airliner. Particularly, how do I get this thing to go up here? Hang on one second. Stand by one. I guess that's how you do it. It won't do it. Okay, well, there's a headrest back here that doesn't like me. I can't seem to get it to raise. How about you? No, I'm probably breaking something. Well, there's a headrest that is extremely irritating me at the moment. How the hell are you supposed to get that to go up? Maybe that's what you do. Well, here's our cargo area when all three seats are deployed. Hang on one second here. Stay right there. Let's see if I do this, if I do that. There. That's how it's done. I figured it out. Look at there. There we go. Now we're in, oops, my finger, sorry. Now we're in position. Wait a minute. Who are you? My God, you seem some alien. Oh, there we go. And there's our third row headrest. Now, how is it back here? There's a little bit of restriction in the legroom area. Floor is fairly flat. Headroom is okay. And you do feel a little semi-squashed, but you could get these people in the second row to move up a little bit. Otherwise, it's not bad. Not bad at all. It's perfectly serviceable, especially for your young'uns. And here we have our, it looks like we have a, wow, is that bright? World's brightest map lights. Good gosh. It's like a Musco on the roof. There we go. You people probably don't even remember what Muscos are. I have a standing fight going on with my wife because my wife's telling me that they're now completely been due to the advent of digital cinematography. The Musco is a dinosaur that no one uses anymore. And I say I still want to buy me a Musco truck. If you're not sure, look it up. M-U-S-K-O. God, that's Musco. But anyway, not bad at all for this third row situation. And we'll compare it directly to the Sequoia, and the Sequoia is probably a bit tighter than this.
There is peace and tranquility in the forest.
And here we have this big rip-roaring beast with, how many horses does this thing have? It has 11 million horsepower, 437 horsepower, and 583 foot-pounds of torque to shatter the peace of this lovely forest setting. But it also is a hybrid, so there's an electric motor, but it really is not very strong. And that's one of the things I don't understand about this approach from Toyota with the new iForce Max engines. A lot of them, we'll have to see what the Tacoma looks like. But they, for the most part, do not have a whole lot of electric input. They get better mileage. But speaking of which, as we examine our instrument cluster on our Sequoia TRD Pro, it's telling me I've been getting around 16.9 miles per gallon. Now, I think it may be a little better than that, but there's been a fair amount of off-road driving, fair amount of idling, all kinds of things that take the mileage down. So is it better than the previous Sequoia? Absolutely. I'd say it's probably 2 to 3 miles per gallon better, which is an improvement. Is it where we need to be? In my opinion, no. We need to be doing a hell of a lot better. And both the approach that Ford and Toyota have taken, I think is pretty inadequate, to be honest with you. It helps, but there's a graph, or there's something like what do you call it, a Venn diagram, where you have on the one side you have electric input, and on the other side you have gasoline engine input, and then you have complexity in the middle where they overlap. And this side's got with these truck hybrids like the Sequoia and like the Tundra, the hybrid engine has an awful lot more complexity, and it's not worth it, in my opinion, for the amount of improvement you get. It just isn't. The twin turbo V6 engine, which is a 3.4 liter, although they call it a 3.5 liter, is a great engine. I mean, it has a lot of power just on its own. It's a good choice. And is the mileage better? It's a lot better than the 5.7 V8 was, but I'll still argue until I'm very old. Well, I'm already very old. I'll just keep arguing that I think they could have done a lot of work on the V8 and made it as fuel efficient as the twin turbo V6. However, I don't know for sure if they would have been able to meet their emissions targets for what they were after. So anyway, but having said all that, it's a real nice driver, this truck. It feels really, really powerful and really smooth and refined. And so, as far as all these boxes, they're all ticked because it's a very impressive powertrain. I just wish they would have done more on the electric side. Okay, well, anyway, speaking of the electric side, here you have your iForce Max. That's your PSI, which is coming from your turbocharging, about how much boost you're getting. This is how much help you get from the battery, and at the very bottom there, you'll see that's how much battery we have remaining. And it gets charged through regenerative braking, and it gets charged by the engine itself. And like a lot of different things, you have a preponderance with Toyota to lean towards the nickel metal hydride batteries as opposed to, I can't talk, as opposed to lithium ion batteries. And I applaud that, because the nickel metal hydrides are such a more proven commodity, especially when it comes to the application of hybrid automobiles. They're extremely tough. They're extremely resilient. They last a very long time. They are partially recyclable, which is kind of impressive. And they don't have near the fire danger and everything else you've seen from lithium ion. Now, supposedly, we got everything under control with them lithium ion batteries now. There's no more fires going. Well, that's, you hear stuff anecdotally. I don't know if it's true or not, but there is still a thing about lithium ions that they really, really have to be carefully cooled. And in the wintertime, they have to be heated, else you lose a lot of your capacity compared to the nickel metal hydrides. But that's what that's telling you. Here is your, this is your oil temperature right there. This is your transmission temperature right there. And here is your overall coolant temperature right down there. So very comprehensive delivery. And as you can see on this main dial here, you give her the gas there, and woo, woo. The outer ring is a tachometer, and it has a digital speedometer in the middle of it. And that speed limit 35 sign is it's taking the information about the nearest available road sign. Now, is this a subscription-only navigation system that Toyota seems to be enamored with? I don't know. I just took delivery on the 24 delivery. I'll have it for a week, of a 2024 Cadillac, and I think it may have a similar subscription system, which we as motorists around the world need to stop them from doing this. This is just another thing that used to be free, or not even free. It was something you paid for when you bought the car, and you had it, and that was it. Everybody's trying to get money out of you through subscriptions, and it's got to stop, because it's ridiculous. I mean, we already seen what it's done to television. Television is probably 50 times more expensive to watch now than it was when I was a kid growing up. We didn't have the choice of channels, no, but it came across the air, and as long as you could afford a television set, you had your television. So everything is being charged subscriptions these days, and the navigation system on this is great. I like the screen and the display very, very much. However, I have no idea if it's subscription only. I'll try to look up, and then I won't tell you. But anyway, so very, very comprehensive instrument cluster on our Sequoia. And as we move around, let's see, where should we go first? Let's go to this enormous 14-inch display. Now, I'm always going on about how what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot more manufacturers that'll take this particular flat screen instrument cluster and they'll kind of blend it in over here to where the center touch screen is. Now what this guy likes to do, this guy being the Toyota guy, they still like to put a big screen separately. It looks like someone just parked a great big tablet up here. I don't know how you feel about that. For myself, I could go for a smaller screen that's better integrated, but there's nothing wrong with this. And I'll tell you, I'll give you an example where this thing really comes in handy is right. Turn on intuitive parking assist. No, I spent the wrong button. God, I had a perfect segue there. I don't know why it's doing that. All right, well, wait a minute. Where's intuitive parking assist? Well, I don't have that turned on right now. I thought I could just hit that and let's try this. Hang on, folks. Putting it in gear. Now what happens if I hit there we go. This is what I'm trying to talk about now. Apparently you can't do that unless the parking assist is on if you're sitting in park. But look at this beautiful display. Now this is where the display is fantastic because look at all the stuff you got. Look at these cameras here. This is the side, either side of the truck. This is behind the truck. This is in front of the truck. This is, I was already there. That's the lower front of the truck. You can't, in my opinion, you can't have too many cameras. What's this one do? Check surround for safety. That's, It's very interesting. Well, it's definitely looking up the driveway, which is behind me. So this, oh, wait a minute. What? There we go. This is what we have when we're backing up into our trailer mode right there. That's what that'll help you with. But it also has a, oh, there's a dog. See, it has found the dog. Boy, he's been naughty today. I'm going to tell you, well, anyway. So you have a lot of very, very useful cameras on this truck, and this is one of my favorite things about new technology. One of the few of my favorite things about new technology is this camera system stuff is fantastic. Now I can't see if the dog. I'm looking forward. Yeah, I am looking forward now. I had to place myself, and the doggy's right here, but I don't see him over here. So I don't know. Well, that's enough of the doggy cam. And we'll put her back in the park. There we go. So, a huge screen. It's fairly easy to navigate. I mean, I can't decide whether the Toyotas are getting slightly better as far as their menus and navigation or if everybody else is getting worse because I still, look at this. If I want to list the audio's off, but I have to hit enable audio, why do I have to do that? Why do, you know, why, I just want to hit that and then it'll come on, right? But there's so many things like this. And I'm also not enamored at all with the fact that they want to know who's driving the car to set up your preferences. It's just, it smacks of all these companies that we want to tailor our advertising to your needs and interests. And I feel like they're trying to do that with cars now. No, I just need I need the mirrors here, I need the seat here, and I need to go. That's basically what I need. But what about your favorite channel? If you live in a household where 5 different people are driving the same car, that makes sense. But for most people, in America, most people, their car is their car, and they're pretty much the person that drives it 90% of the time. So, gosh, willigers there. What else do we have here that I can access that's interesting? Oh, down here. This is, again, a lot of the menus that you have to plow through are not exactly the most intuitive in the world. Now, the display right now is on automatic based on time and ambient light. It seems to me like it's working a little better. The big problem I've had with Toyota's new systems is the display during the daytime is way too bright. And I always just put it on the dark. It's on dark now because I turned automatic off because I can't see. Let's go back. See how bright that is? I have a hard, my eyes just don't like that. They react negatively. So if you turn that off, then it will give you the option. And there we go. And I find that much easier to read, to navigate, to understand. All right, directly below that, here's our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. Very, very straightforward, easy to understand. We have your heated seats. We have your ventilated seats. Leave that vent on right there. Boy, you can really hear that. And a variety of things. Here's your defrosters for both your side mirrors. And by the way, these trailer mirrors are bigger than your head. And they're great for seeing out back. I haven't towed a trailer with this thing, but the only bad side of this, I think I mentioned this when I'm driving it. Look at how much space it takes up and what a blind spot that creates. Ford is one of the things Ford did right a long time ago, and nobody else has done it as well, in my opinion, is there's that dog again. You keep an eye on him. Is take the door right here and cut a thing right down in here, and then lower the mirror down so you can see over it, but you can still use the mirror to its full capacity. It's brilliant, and it's so simple, and why every other truck manufacturer, especially when you get the optional towing mirrors, why they don't do that, I couldn't tell you, because it just makes no sense to me. Now, how do you extend? Well, let's go over here. First of all, on the far side here, we have our TRD light bar. So it's got a nice big light bar in the front for your off-road or irritating people that you're following too close to. But here we have some of our controls for these amazing mirrors. Now there's a light. You see that little light right down there? Isn't that nice? That's very helpful actually at night. But look at here. I can put the mirror out. Woo! And it's all the way out, and hit it again, and she'll come back in again. So this is definitely equipped. Do we have a trailer control? Yes, we do, integrated, and it's right there. Very convenient place for it, very good place to put it. So when it comes to towing, this thing is great. What is the towing capacity? I believe it's right around 9,000 pounds, if I recall. So it can tow a lot, and believe me, as heavy as this thing is and as powerful it is, I absolutely think you could easily tow 9,000 pounds with it. You go any further than that and you're being silly. Now what's the trailer thing here? If I hit that, does anything happen? No, nothing happens there. No saved trailers, TGB canceled, push OK to add trailer. Okay, this is a thing where, and this is what I'm reading there, you can put a trailer in to open up some of the features, including the fact that this thing will back itself up straight as an arrow with a trailer, which is pretty impressive. It takes a lot of setup time, but if you go to the trouble of doing it, you have a real nice feature. At the end of a long work day, if you're towing a trailer, like so many of these guys like to, these contractors now and these people that do interior remodeling and stuff, they love to have a big trailer with their entire shop inside it. You know, they're towing trailers that weigh like 7,000 to 8,000 pounds, and it's all tools. But they have it there. They can take it to the site and have everything they need to do, anything they need to do as far as interior of the house. But then at the end of the day, they're tired and they get home. They want to back that thing back up the driveway into the back and put it behind the house. And that would be really taxing if you're beat and tired and exhausted. So this will help you do that. Let the computers do all the work for you. That's what that's about. So anyway, that's everything with our HVAC, by the way. And we got sidetracked, but that's the way I live. Here's a USB standard A interface for you right there. Now when we drop down, that's the trailer access. That is the camera access I was playing with. This is turning off your traction control. There are applications where you may want to do that if you're in the process of trying to get unstuck, if you manage to somehow get this thing stuck. And here's our rear differential lock, which is fantastic to have. That is such a useful feature. It's better than a limited slip. It's better than an automatic locking differential, in my opinion. It's a straight locker. So if you need that situation, you got a wheel that's spinning and you need more traction in the back and you need that traction to go to that opposite side that's not spinning, there's your button right there. Come down here, we have a very nice conventional, it says TRD right here, shifter, straight and back. You come over here and there's your standard manual transmission selection, which is 10 forward speeds, plus and minus. That's how that works. Very straightforward, very easy to understand. Now, tell us of our drive modes. Okay, drive modes. What do we have? Here we have, look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Sport, and then normal, and then eco. Those are your three selections. Now, eco, I don't know what it's trying to tell you on that graph. Come on, man. I don't know. A normal, it's not, when it's on eco, it's illuminating the fact that I think it's trying to use the hybrid system more, perhaps. I don't know. But then when we go to sport, you see that same thing. So what's that mean? I have no idea. It's a graphic. Toyota's kind of going nuts with the graphics these days, and I'm hoping they're going to settle down and go back to what they had before with a lot of the hybrids, because that was a real good system the way it was. Okay, so what else do we have here? Your four-wheel drive selector is very straightforward. 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low. Now, why isn't there no four-wheel drive automatic? Well, I think the reason that Toyota refuses to this day to do that on their trucks is because they just don't think it's a good idea for a number of different engineering reasons. And one of the reasons is, I believe, it's not as rugged a setup as when you just have a straight four-wheel drive high, four-wheel drive low setup. When it's on automatic and it'll kick in when it needs to, apparently there's another clutch involved with that, obviously, and they don't think it's heavy duty enough. They haven't come up with a system themselves that they like and that they think is appropriate, that works. So that's my explanation of that. You are free, of course, to come up with your own. Here's your tow haul, which I just felt that automatically turned the engine on because we were sitting here not engineing. But it also puts the trailer guide up there, and there you go. I mean, it recalibrates, excuse me, the transmission, I believe, and a few other things to optimize towing. Not the best thing in the world for gas mileage, but much better for towing. That's why that exists. MTS, what is that? Well, it won't light up. Multiple terrain selector, something like that. And here's our crawl control. Now, I think let's do this. Let's do this, shall we? We'll put her in the 4 high. And it takes a while, I've noticed, for this thing to get into 4 high. I don't know why that is. We can move forward a little bit, and maybe she'll lock her up. Come on now, come on, lock up, lock up. I heard somebody else had a problem with this. How about we put her in reverse and see if it'll do. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're locked. Now we go to neutral. Now we push down, and we put her in the 4 low. It's blinking, blinking. Engine came on. We are now in 4 low. Now what happens if I hit this now? Aha! MTS is on. VSC is turned off. I'll do that again. Oops, sorry. Okay, turn VSC. VSC is turned off. Pre-collision brake system is unavailable. I'm not sure what that's for, but here's our crawl control, and I should be able to actuate that, shouldn't I? Nothing happening. I'll put it in drive. Crawl control is now on. Okay. So let's say I want to back up, and I want to use the crawl control. Where's the dog? Is he out of here? I don't see him. Okay, we're good. And it's slowing itself down. There, low 2, low 1. There's our speed. See how slow it's getting? Now we're going to pause, put it into drive. Boy, it moves around a lot when you do that, I'm telling you. And now we'll go forward. And let's put her on low 2. Nice and slow. See, I could go right over all this stuff if I wanted to. But see, that's your basic off-road cruise control. And it seems to work quite well. There we go. So that's how you access that. Now go back, neutral, 4 high, crawl, deactivated. Yeah, I know. I'm the one who deactivated it. Okay. There we go. Then turn MTS off, and we're back to drive mode selection. And now I'll go back to 2 high. And Bob's your uncle. Yes? Yes? Is Bob my uncle? Come on now. Come on now. Not the quickest shifter in the world when it comes to going in and out of 4-wheel drive. There we go. Takes it a while. Maybe it's doing something. Maybe it's doing something. Maybe it's checking everything out and make sure everything's working before they let you go into 4-wheel drive. I don't know why it takes so long, but There you go. All right, we covered everything here. We still don't know multiple terrain system. That's what I'm going to call that. I don't even know if that's what that is. There are so many of these settings and stuff that I don't think are of great value. What is of great value is the crawl control, though. That is an excellent feature. And oh, by the way, while I'm on other things, I have to go up here because here is our action cam. You got a micro SD card in there, and that's a camera, folks. And I use some of the footage you'll see on this video is from that camera. And it works very, very well. It's actually kind of a funky way in how you load in your a micro SD card, but once you get used to it, it's good. It works good. I don't know why it's on. I won't turn you off. There. Oh, has it been on this whole time? Oh, I hope the volume side wasn't on. Oh, well. Up here, look at what we have. We have, this is our automatic gate opener. And I'm just press that, and there it goes. Whew. Look at there. Automatic gate closer. There we go. There we are. All right, you got that. You got your open and close, and your, this is for your actual vent here. I mean, for your screening. What the hell was I just in? Oh, it was the Cadillac I was just in. This just has a manual shade, which is the best kind, in my opinion. And nice little, it's not even little, it's a pretty good sized sunroof up here. As you can see, whoosh, nice, huh? All right, now what kind of vehicle are we in? Toyota. People have joked about that too on the Tundra as well, and yeah, I think that's worthy of being joked about. Why did they do that? Oh, you know what you're in, put something else there. Put a little flower, or maybe you could put an alligator. It's long and it's like landscape, so you can put an alligator over there, something like that, and you could call this the gator biter or something rather than the Sequoia. Well, whatever. How's our glove box, you ask? It's full of stuff, but it's a pretty good sized glove box, and it has this little shelf in here, much like my old 4Runner does. Huh. Interesting. And what's underneath here? Some very generously sized cup holders. Speaking of which, oh man, that's good tea right there. It's tea time. I can't not have my tea time. Let's turn this light on here. And look at this beautiful, I don't know how they do this, it's magic. But the TRD Pro seats have this mesh looking that has an underlayer of visual amazingness. So what, pray tell, is this? Is this interior? Well, we have multimedia, we have that. This is, in fact, I don't know what the material is. So, well, I do know our color is solar octane and black. Why do I always have a hard time finding out what the hell this is? Because leather is disappearing, folks. And these are really, really good seats. I mean, they're flat. They're built for a large Dewey type person. Well, it'll be on the lower part of your screen. I can't find it, but it feels like leather, but that means nothing. This is probably one of their textiles that they use that are so good. I mean, they really, really are fantastic. So how does this compare to our Mercedes? It couldn't be a more different working environment. The belt line on the side is low, but what I hate about the new Tundra doesn't hate. I don't hate it. No, I have a strong dislike for the fact that I swear the hood is a lot higher on these vehicles, and the windshield is scrunched down, so it's not as bad as like a Hummer H2 or anything like that, or even a Jeep Wrangler. But there is a degree of claustrophobia that I'd rather have a much bigger greenhouse here. And why they do that, I don't know. Oh, I almost forgot. Well, I did forget. Look at there. You also have the camera available, the wide-angle camera, in case you have a whole bunch of rambunctious, irritating children that are jumping around and they've got umbrellas open and everything else in the back seat, and you can't see out the back. That's what you put that on for, because that's done via the outside camera. See how you can't see nothing back there with all that. So I love that feature. We have that on our RAV4, as a matter of fact. All right, now we're gonna come around here. There he is. What are you doing, boy? Here we go. Here we go. Whoa! Yeah, that got rid of him for a second. Okay. Now, door is big. Door opens a full 90 degrees. Access is excellent. Very top marks for that. Now then, here we are in our captain's chairs. We need light here. Turn on the lights. Turn on the... There we go. It's getting dark. I apologize. These captain's chairs are very similar to the front buckets. As a matter of fact, they feel almost the same. They do feel kind of flat like all back seats do. Now, I don't know why that is on a vehicle like this, because if you have a bench seat, I understand the flatness is part of the access, so you can slide across. That's why a lot of these seats are, God, I can't find any kind of, you know, I could have sworn these things reclined, or, well, let's see, let's try this here. Hang on one more. There we go. Okay, yes, this does recline. Not a whole lot, but some. And you would think there's got to be a way to slide this puppy dog forward. But there ain't no puppy dogs here that'll slide. There's a dog right there. 100% on your window deployment. And looky here. These are hooks. What is that for? Well, it's for this right here. Arthritis. It's my arthritis. Here, hang on there. Hey, we're gonna hang this up here. Yeah. Ain't that nice? They can't see in now. Prying eyes. Anyway, the Mercedes GLS 450 W4 doesn't have that. And actually, I'm still trying to determine if it's actually a W4 or just a 4MATIC, and if there's a difference. I don't think there is, but I finally got the Monroney on that, so I know how much it costs, and it costs about $12,000 more than this does. And this actually has a lot of features on it that the Mercedes doesn't even have, just like those shades, for example. So you also have these nice, huge, generous, you could get a really big iPad or something like that right in there. You got your USBs down here. Yep, USB-C it looks like. And then you also have your ability to control your ventilation for the back seat with your captain's chairs. Now to get to the third row, there's a third row. Look at this. You got this real nice, do we have lights back here? Oh dear. It's like a cave. That will not do. This is what happens when I don't have enough time. Wait, well, how about if I do this? Hang on. If I open this door, if I can find the door handle. God, what the? I'm stuck. Okay, here we go. There. Oh, there are. Well, I'll be damned. I didn't know those were there. Hang on. There we go. Oh, sorry. There we go. There we go. Now, this is the big question, folks, because everybody's been worried about these rear seats, because when they pitched away the independent rear suspension and subsequently the floor was raised or not lowered, it depends on how you want to look at it. And incidentally, to get back here, I'm going to get back here right now. You also can tumble the seats if you're a big Dewey size fella. But here we are, and I'm in the back seat now, and there's plenty of room here. I don't know what the big deal is, because I'm an adult. I'm 5 foot. I'm 6'3" and 218 pounds. No, I'm actually 5'8". I have plenty of room back here, and the floor is not near as high as I would have thought. I smell a red herring when people have been complaining about this third row, because it's fine. It's on a par with almost all the third rows you get, including the third row on the Mercedes. The Mercedes has a little bit more room, but this is perfectly acceptable. And look at here. Yeah, you can really, I mean, there's no end to the amount of shading that you can do here. Now look at this. Woo! This reclines electrically. I'm not making that up. Watch this now. Look at that. It has an electric recline. I mean, this is a shocker. It's so much better than I was expecting to have my knees and my jaw and all that kind of thing. But the fact of the matter is, it's not bad. Anybody that tells you it is, go get in one. If you're thinking about getting one of these vehicles, one of these big 3-row SUVs with off-road capability and great towing prowess, come sit in the back of this and see what you think and compare it to the others. Because the others have a little bit more, but I'm telling you, ergonomically, it's fine. And you actually have plenty of room. That's really nice. Congratulations, Toyota. Now, what does suck is the fact that these are mounted such that you don't have a nice, flat, clean load floor, and I am not sure about whether or not you can remove these, but I'm fairly sure you can. I didn't see anything in the owner's manual that implied that you can remove the third row easily, but I'm sure there's a way to do it. Talk to your dealer; they'll set you straight on that. But if you do have a situation where you do use your third row a lot, it's a perfectly serviceable third row, and I mean that with all my heart. I would not tell you otherwise. If only they folded down into the seat, that's how they did it. That is how they kept the floor from being so high, is they left the floor where it was maybe, but then had to put the seats on top of that. I don't know. I think there's a story behind that. Like I'll ever get access to any of the engineers that could tell me about that. That just probably won't happen. So there we go. That's the interior of our Sequoia TRD Pro. And it's very nicely assembled, by the way. It's a good piece of San Antonio craftsmanship. And I just wish there were a few changes here and there, but overall, like the whole rest of the vehicle, I enjoy driving it tremendously because it's a nice, tight steering, powerful, comfortable package. They did a good job with it. I just think they could have done so much better with the hybrid side of things, but give them time. This is Toyota. They're real good at fixing stuff that needs to be fixed. Oh, what do you want to do? Oh, I said the T word, didn't I? See? Cancel. Cancel. I'm sorry, I don't know how to do that, and it canceled. See what I'm dealing with here, folks? You think this job's easy? Think again. Boy, this is like driving a big old Mercedes-Benz, is what it is, which is good. Look at the quality of our graphics here as we drive along. Now first of all, the idea behind all this is to help navigate off-road as much as anything else. But boy, it comes in real handy, period. You do have a couple of things here. With the air suspension, of course, you do have an adjustment for it, which is very conveniently right here in this thumb section here. And with that, you have a decent amount of ground clearance, and they usually, the undersides of these vehicles are usually fairly well protected. Although it depends on, whoa, we got a little bit of wheel spin there. Ooh. How incredibly undignified of a Mercedes to have wheel spin. So once again, you are with me at the beginning. I have just picked this thing up, or actually, it's not true. I just received it, is what I should say. And I love doing this. I love just getting in the car and driving it. Now, that's a stupid approach in some ways, because it'd be much better to study everything and have an idea about what the heck this thing does what it's got. We have a 6-cylinder turbocharged engine, which appears to be, and again, I haven't looked at anything, but it appears to be, from looking at the engine, it has a huge stroud on it, as you know. And incidentally, this is I'm shooting this before I'm shooting anything else on this video. So by the time you see this, you would have already seen me break down what the engine is exactly. But I just look at it, and it looks very much to me to be an inline 6 turbocharged engine, much like the Mazda I just had. Which is interesting, because I mentioned at the time with the Mazda that was the only inline turbocharged 6 out there, except for the Stellantis inline 6. It's in both Ram pickups. I think they call it a Hurricane or a Coyote Cane or a Sharknado. It's one of those engines. They have a name for it, which is good. You should name the engine. But the Mercedes has it too, apparently. So that seems to be a real popular way to go. Oh, look at all this massive construction. Well, that's crazy. Loony. I guess we're being waved around here. I don't know. Boy, look at all of this. Busy at work. The engine auto stop is on. I was about to say, boy, this thing idles smooth. But when I first started it, and I was sitting there while the engine was running, I did get the impression that we're going to sit here all day. There we are. Here's our little car right there. I do like that. I think that's excellent. All right, now we're going to get out on the highway with our 6. Woo! Sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. It sounds very good. All right, now how in the world do we navigate? Whoa! Whoa! Yeah! Now we have to navigate our cruise control. It's on now. And we now set it. Are we set? Yes, now we're set. 55 miles an hour. Now I don't see any available to hand switch right off the bat that will turn on and off our lane centering, lane tracing function. What we're doing right now, I believe, is just, oh, look at how this is a nice graphic for our following distance. So that's all taken care of. I still have full control of steering, which is how I like it. Oh, I need to do something here. I need to lower this. There we go. I believe we're synced. Yep, our climate control is synced. So here we go. I'm going to come over here. Now then, how do we turn on that thing I want to turn on? I have no idea. Lane centering is off. I may have to go into a sub-menu to find it. I don't see it anywhere around here, like handy. It should be, I feel like that kind of thing should be right here with all the rest of the cruise control stuff. Because when you're talking about the vehicle steering the car, you're talking about a form of cruise control. But boy, I tell you, I do not see how I do that. I'd have to probably go through a million sub-menus, which I'm capable of doing. As you can see, we have this enormous trackpad, and it is big. I mean, it's freaking enormous, this thing. Let's see here, if I can go here, here. Off-road, info. Settings, that's for me. Driving setting. Active distance and a steering assist. Okay, now we can turn that on, and now it's on. So we got to go through all these menus to turn it on, and I bet I have to go through all these menus to turn it off. Let's see how it does. Our lane is becoming narrower. Does it understand that? Seems to be tracing without getting too crazy about it. Tends to want to drift off to the right, though, of the right part of the open lane. And now, wow, Wow, that's really interesting. I guess our lane, there's a difference between the automatic steering, the active steering assist, and the, I guess that's lane mitigation, something like that. Yeah, now it is. It seems to be a lane centering thing. Yeah, definitely. It's a quivering underneath my thumbs here. It's trying to drive itself. Does it know where we're going? Does it know our destination? No, it don't know nothing. It's just a machine. You can't argue with a machine, Spock. Oh boy, I can't seem to get this fella here to settle down there. It's rattling all around, and that's my fault. Well, let's see here. We're QI charging, it's telling us. I could have told them that. Let's go over this big old rock here at a low speed. Whoop. Nicely handled, nicely dampened. Well, they're absolutely enormous, Fox shocks. They're enormous. And off we go. Has a very nice low-end thing to it. Oh, that's on. Oh, how do I turn that sumbitch off? Oh. Yeah, it's steering the car. You know, I effing hate that. All right, hang on. We're going. Now, can we do this while I'm driving the car? Like, I have this system going on that I don't like. Let's see. This is empty versus 10 times 10. Oh, here we go. I bet I can get right over here. Well, let's turn that on. Well, I want to turn it off. Hey, I won't turn you off. How do I turn you off? That's a maintenance required. I don't need that. Well, line smart monitor. Oh, these are all things I like. It doesn't look like. Oh, here we go. Will that work? Maybe that'll work. Maybe I just took care of the problem. Here's one way of taking care of the problem. Drive on a road that doesn't have any lanes on it, lines painted on it, and it can't tell you you're leaving your lane. So we have these coil springs all around, AA arms, and these big Fox off-road shock absorbers. That's all part of the shocks are part of the TRD Pro package. And so far, it's certainly not punishing. And it seems to be strong and strong from the standpoint of it has a firm ride, but not a loose ride at all. We're currently on God, I gotta get oriented here. Here we go. Drive modes. There's sport. There's eco. Is that it? Those are my only choices? Hello, Mr. UPS man. Well, we're just gonna go normal. That's perfect. We're at normal. That's exactly where we want to be. And one thing I have to say is the brakes on this have a very nice feel to them. Very responsive and yet not overly much, not grabby. Now this is a TRD Pro, and I wonder if it has TRD Pro brake pads, and I'm willing to bet it probably does not. It probably, I could look at it and tell because I have TRD Pro pads on my Toyota vehicle, and they made a huge difference in the positive of the feel of the brakes, because the vehicle is known for not having brakes that feel great, and they definitely improve the braking experience. I notice our Falcon Wild Peaks are not excessively loud. They have a pretty aggressive tread pattern, and yet they aren't excessively loud, and that's tricky. But they figure that out, those engineers. They figure that stuff out. Firm but solid, not overly punishing. That's pretty much everything I can say. Hello, cow. We got a cow in this field. Didn't used to have nothing in that field. Now there's a cow running around in there. I like that. It's become countrified. It's amazing considering where I live. People raise. We have 2 dairy farms that are not far from us. There's a place about 20 to 30 miles away that raises buffalo, or they used to. I don't know if they still do. I think they do. One of the things I'm testing for right now is, as big and hulking as this vehicle is, how does it feel? Does it feel smaller than it actually is physically? It's got a good feel to it. It's my wife and I differed on the new Tundra, because comparing to the previous generation, I feel the previous generation, the steering is not as precise, for one thing, and it just feels bigger to me. The previous generation Tundra, i.e. the Sequoia, which I've always also driven, but boy, it's been years. But it was a big vehicle, and it felt like a big vehicle. The steering was a little too boosted for my taste, but that is the biggest improvement, in my opinion, in the new Tundra family, of which I put the Sequoia, is the steering is much more precise than it was before. It's still a big truck, and steers sort of like a big truck, but it's better. It's a lot more, it's quite a bit improved. And a lot of that is the whole system is redone, because it's no longer just a hydraulic boost system. It's an electric system now, just like it with everybody else. And that's where all that hideous self-steering came from. Now we're going to find more about if I was successful in turning that off, because I have this hideous feeling that I was not successful. Well, it won't let you do most of this. Seems that for a 6,100 pound vehicle too, you got to remember this suspension has a lot to control. And we'll see when I get on something that's pretty average in terms of, well, let's put it this way. I'll find a curvy road to take it down and see how it changes, it handles changes in direction and weight, because that's a full giveaway about bulk. Is when the suspension gets loaded and then unloaded quickly. That's a real measure, especially the shock absorbers, how quickly it rebounds from that. Well, this is a mess. Thank you. Okay. Now this little adventure out here I'm about to go up. I could customize my instrument panel right now because I left it where I left it. That was dumb. All right, let's go. There we go. That's where we want to be. Boy, you can really hear the turbo winding up there. Very interesting. Didn't seem to be doing much on the gauge itself. It's not doing anything right now. But I do like it's showing up there. Just the battery just kicked in a bunch. Now let's hit those turbos here. Oh yeah, there they go. Woo! Woo! It's using all it's got for the iForce Max. I tell you that you wouldn't, between the fact that the suspension does a real good job of handling all the weight, and the engine does such a great job of putting out power, this vehicle does feel lighter than it actually is just because of those two things. Which I like that. Now, what I'm going to be super, super curious about, and I mean just curious as all get out, there we go. So far, since I've had this vehicle and I've put 11 miles on it, I've gotten 14 miles per gallon. That's terrible. But that's not fair at all because I have not been driving it much. It's been a lot of that has been idling. So we'll see how she do. We'll come around here. Wait till we get like about 74 miles on it and then 100 miles on it. We'll see how we're looking. And it does seem to be light on its feet, considering it has such big feet. I'll just be real interested. Oh, it's now saying we're up to 15.2 miles per gallon. So we're in previous generation Sequoia, Tundra and Sequoia. That was a big complaint people had about it. And the only complaint I ever heard about the previous generation Sequoia was it was a thirsty thing. But some of that has to do with it. That 5.7 V8 engine is such a beautiful, responsive engine that it was real hard to keep your foot out of it. But you know, that's kind of true with this too, because this thing, it's real quick. And the transmission, I don't think. It's fine. I mean, believe me, I like the transmission as far as it's smooth and everything else, but do we really need 10 speeds? I wonder about this stuff, because the previous generation Tundra and Sequoia had 6 speeds, and it was fine. I mean, I never was saying, God, I wish it had more gears. I think the mileage would be better if we had more. No, I never thought that, because that's the thing. In order to get mileage out of these things, these transmissions that have so many speeds is they need to be shifting all the time. If I may, I got the multi-terrain selector on now. In order to do that, you have to have it in 4-wheel drive high or low, and then turn the dial selector down here for your drive modes, which you used earlier for your regular drive modes, you know, sport, eco, and normal. You turn this on, look there, you got deep snow and sand and mud and more deep snow. Oh, what about dirt? There's dirt. There we are, dirt. No, sorry, I went too fast. There's dirt, and there's automatic, which is the default position. So anyway, to get to that, it was a lot more involved than I thought it would have been, but I found it. Now I can play with it here with you, and we can select our terrain that we want to destroy. So there you go. And if you put it in 4-wheel low, shall I try to do that? This thing is very recalcitrant when it comes to going into various drive modes. I don't know why it is. It takes a while. Oh, sorry, there we go. So now then, put it into drive, and what's it tell us? According to this, we're in too high. That's my fault. All right, here we go. 4 low. There we go. The engine always starts up right away when you're in 4 low. All right, we've done it. And there we are. We're in 4-wheel drive low. Now, put on the multi-terrain selector and see if there's anything different. Sand, mud, and rock. It's slightly different, you see. And there is an automatic mode too. So there you go. Look at the rocks. Oh my God. Will we make it? So there you go. There's your multi-terrain selector. Wow, now why in the world did we go underneath the Tundra? Well, we didn't. I'm just shucking with you. This is in fact our Sequoia TRD Pro with all its associated kit, which includes this absolutely massive shock absorber. I mean, my goodness God, look at it. What kind is it? Does it say? Does it say? Well, it says something there, Pro. Could be TRD Pro. I don't know who makes it. Oh, yes, I do. It's Fox, of course. Fox is having a real good run these days with off-road vehicles, especially from the factory, because they got arrangements, they got deals, and they make a really, really fine shock absorber, and it kind of at the leading edge, to be honest with you. But what you have is our live axle, big old live axle, and upon it you have perched a coil spring. I believe there is an air spring version you can get as far as an option, load leveling, that kind of thing. But I'm very fond of this particular rear suspension because it doesn't have that. It's just a very, very well-tuned suspension. And there is a lower locating arm, which is right in front of us here. This guy right here. This is a very stout lower control arm too. And then up top, it's difficult to see, but right here is the structure that a control arm is attached to. So there's upper and lower control arms. Now, one thing you don't see right offhand is like an anti-sway bar back here. They do have a panhard rod, which is this guy right here. It runs underneath here. And as you can see by looking at all the welding and the fully boxed frame up there, all this stuff, this is a real nice heavy-duty design. Here is our skid plate for our massive fuel tank. I forget what it is. It's 28. Could it be 36? Well, I don't think so. I should know, but I don't right offhand. But it carries a lot of fuel in it, that's for sure. And over here, this is the front reservoir. Both of these rear shocks have this, which is what are those reservoir shocks for? Well, those external reservoirs. Well, they're designed if you're zooming down a off-road situation where the shock absorber is really getting a workout. Especially, I always like to come back to like corrugated, nasty Australian type roads that just constantly cycle bumps into the suspension of the vehicle. Sometimes there can be foaming and other adverse effects of the shock absorbers because they get too hot. Well, one of the things that reservoir does for you is keeps the temperature nice and cool, so the shock remains operating at optimum efficiency. Here's the other side of our panhard rod right here, and I don't see any trace anywhere of a anti-sway bar back here, which I find fascinating. That's one less thing to worry about. And then he looked up and he said, "Oh, what's this? What's this here? Oh dear, that is in fact an anti-sway bar, and it must hook over here. There's too much stuff in the way for me to see it, like the fuel tank and everything." But yeah, there's always an anti-sway bar on these. This is the reason I have a problem with these multi-link coil suspensions on pickups is because there's so many parts, so many moving parts. And I mean, it's not like that's going to necessarily be a problem for you in the least. However, it is just more stuff to deal with, and if you have any kind of a situation where anything gets damaged, either off-road or in an accident or anything else. It's just more elaborate. There's more stuff to replace and that kind of thing. And there's more stuff that can wear out. But is it that big a difference? Probably not. Probably is not going to make, in the lifetime of your vehicle, it's not going to make that much difference. Look at the size, if you will, of this drive shaft here. Holy cow. I mean, that's some serious aluminum there. And there is our transfer case. Hello, transfer case. And it's got a little shield on the bottom of it, and then you got a lot of protection. Then you got your TRD front skid plate and our lower A-arms, which look like they're strong enough for like a 3/4 ton pickup truck up there. They're really built. And I believe that's, I don't know if that's a different lower control arm you get with like your regular standard Sequoia. It's probably the same, but who knows. Naturally, you got some nice metal protection here for your brake rotor. And there's your brake caliper right there. And then somewhere in here is your electronic parking brake too. So it's got all the latest accoutrement. And it even has a huge rear muffler here. Oh, boy. That's a lot. That's a lot right there. So as you can see, ground clearance is very good. It's still such a long wheelbase. What did I say it was? 123 or something like that. It's got such a long wheelbase. Off-road, there's two dilemmas that sets you up with. One of if you need to turn around, it takes forever, and also it reduces your ability to navigate over real peaky peaks because your breakover angle is lower than you would like. But it's still, I mean, this is a very, when I always bring this, explain this to people because they need to understand this. The number one feature you have to successful off-road driving is the driver. You just have to have some common sense and understand the vehicle, understand where the soft parts are, the hard parts are, and just learn to drive, folks. I mean, that's the best thing. This thing has got more than enough ground clearance for you to get just about any reasonable place you want to be. If you want to do some off-roading of the kind where you're going to go out camping, also, I mean, it's perfect for that. You got all this room and everything else. And it's an overland vehicle, to be sure, because you have all this room in it, and it does have plenty. But some of you want to say, oh, no, it needs a 2-inch lift, and you need 37 tires, and well, whatever. But you don't. Not if you know what you're doing. You can get along just fine. If you have reasonable expectations, or if you're one of these people that just likes to go places just to drive your truck there, well, you know, that's a different matter. Now, look here. This is something else I love about this Sequoia. That is a full-size spare tire. And it's not the same. It's not a Falcon Wild Peak. It is a Michelin 18-inch. Which one is this? This is an LTX truck tire. So this is a good tire. I have actually used these. I think originally our Toyota Tundra TRD came with them, and they're a very, very good tire. They're also something I discovered. They're very expensive tires because they're extremely well made. They last, they get long mileage. The traction is excellent. Does very, very well in snow and that kind of thing. But it's nice to know you do have a good stout spare tire. It's not quite up to the standard of the Wild Peak as far as off-road ability, but it's a very solid tire. So, all right, there you go. How does this compare to our German counterpart? Well, we'll see in just a few minutes here. But boy, this is a very, very nicely put together vehicle, that's for sure. And it gives one confidence during off-road adventure. Well, how can I really do the TRD Pro Sequoia without doing the front suspension too? Well, here we have it. And as you can see, we have another very fat Fox shock up front. It says TRD Pro on it. And those beautiful red coil springs. Some aluminum over here, right there, your aluminum to support your wheel, which I believe you'll find on all these Sequoias. And then a nice red drive shaft. Whoa. Oh yeah, and don't forget this massive anti-sway bar, also in red. But it's a substantial beast here, and here's one of the things they are most proud of. Look at there. TRD. Travel roads delicately. TRD, that's what that stands for. But as you can see, this skid plate right here runs all the way back. I mean, it covers everything. It's like extremely thick. I believe that's aluminum, and man, you could bash some serious rocks with that thing. That's a beautiful thing. Now here's something I talked about before. Look at the gap between the front of the vehicle and the actual radiators. There's this huge air gap right here, and here's where you could service your coolant. And on either side of here, we have the intercoolers. This is all part of your intercooler system for your turbochargers. They each get their own little intercooler, which is very nice. Now, one of the things that has vexed many people since the new Tundra came out was, why are there no recovery hooks underneath here? Because you really need those when you're doing serious off-road work, and sometimes when you're not. You just need them to pull stuff out, and a million different uses, and it doesn't have them, and they're not optional. So what's going to happen? Are they ever going to fix this? I don't know, but I used to think it was a frivolous argument that people were making about it, like it was a really big deal. Well, guess what? It is kind of a big deal. Now, you do have a lot of substantial front components here that you could no doubt attach a recovery hook to, but they just haven't done it. The aftermarket, I think, has been filling the gap for the time being. But still, it's kind of strange, to be honest with you, that it doesn't have those, after everybody else does. And I believe the new Tacoma four-wheel drive versions have it. So, we'll see. I don't know what's going on with that. Never understood it, but boy, what a skid plate. Forget all that. Just marvel on the skidding plate. And while I'm down here, we shall note, where's the device? Oh, there it is. This right here. Oop, this right here. You see that there? That is your fully boxed frame right there. And what they've done with it's got the same basic frame as everything now. That's one of the things about the new development plan that went through with the Land Cruiser, with the new 4Runner, the Tacoma, and of course mainly the Tundra. It all has basically the same frame. That's why you have those coil rear springs. It's first and foremost a Land Cruiser frame, which incidentally, the particular Land Cruiser I believe it was made for is now no longer going to be sold in the United States. That was either the 2 or the 300 series, and they're still being sold all over Europe. And the GX, which one is it, 500 or whatever version of the Lexus Land Cruiser has the same frame as well. But they all have this, and they all have the coil rear springs, except the Tacoma's modified a little bit more. With there's a couple of variants that you can actually get good old leaf springs, which touches me deeply. But if we have a look here, one of the more interesting aspects of this is one of the reasons they went with this particular box frame design is they've developed some very clever welding techniques where they can literally change the stiffness of the frame depending on which application it's in. And they do that by inserting different types of metal inside the side rails of the frame. Not completely inside, but it's part of the side rail of the frame, so that you can actually introduce a little bit of flex here and there, or stiffen it up depending on what you need to do. And this frame here, this guy right here, no doubt is a benefit of that, just like the Tundra is. This is probably very, very similar to the regular Tundra frame, to a point, and then it's possibly got some more stiffening in it that the Tundra doesn't have. You have to realize something about body on frame. It works so well for pickups because there is some flex in there between the cab and the bed that can allow the bed and its huge cargo, if you have like 1,500 pounds in it, to flex a little bit so that it absorbs some of the road irregularities and everything else, thus saving the suspension and the rest of the occupants and everything else. It's like another aspect of the suspension is the fact the flame can flex. The flame can flex the frame. could flex a little bit, which makes perfect sense. Some guy, no, I don't want no flex in my frame. I want it to be as stiff as possible. I want it to be a girder steel arrangement. I want it to be like the damn Brooklyn Bridge. Well, the Brooklyn Bridge is designed to flex too, guys. You know, it's all give and take. But boy, if you like red, just buy one of these vehicles and just lie beneath it. You'll be satisfied the rest of your life with all your red requirements. Moving on. Ah, la suspension française avec les voitures. No. Actually, this is an Alabama rear suspension on a Mercedes-Benz made in Alabama. Even though it has Georgia plates, figure that one out. Intrigue. So, very different from our Sequoia, we have our GLS 450 W4. And look at all this ground clearance I got here. Now, do I have the suspension up on max right now? I don't think so. We'll play with that in a little bit, but as we can see here, very different type of setup than the Sequoia. The Sequoia is, of course, just a live axle all the way across there. And this, on the other hand, has your multiple arms on here. Upper, and then we have a shock absorber mounted here. Correct, yes. This clearly modifies the shock absorber on the fly through electronics. Exactly how that does that is a mystery to man, except for the people that, you know, made it and work on it, service it, and bother to understand it. And then we have a massive air spring right up here. It's mounted fairly far forward, just in front of this also massive rear drive shaft. That's a big fella. And it naturally, since we have a completely, it's a polar opposite of the way the Sequoia works, because the Sequoia is a much older technology. It's just a straight axle, but it has a lot more, I will reckon, it has a lot more articulation than this suspension does, just because of the very nature of what you can do with a live axle, as opposed to the limited travel by comparison you get with an independent suspension. However, an independent suspension has all the wonderful benefits of an independent suspension. The rear wheels act completely independently of each other and the others in the front. Listen to that. Can you hear that? Woo! There's things like that. There is more noise coming off of this car when it's just sitting there off than any car I've seen recently. But anyway, since this is a unibody construction, it's mostly shielded by all this cladding that you see up in there. We have a massive beam here. Look at that sucker. Look at all the massiveness of it right here. And that is, of course, bolted to your unibody. And this is the subframe that your suspension rides on. Now this here, right here, is just a rear anti-sway bar, right like that. And this, we have so many links here. An amazing number of links. Keeping things, this is just literally all locating the rear arm, depending on what you're doing with it. If you're climbing over rocks and things, it's there to keep you everything in perfect alignment. As you can see, the rear differential is a massive aluminum. Everything's massive on this thing. The drive shaft, which you can see tucked in underneath there, is not near as robust as the one on the Sequoia, but the Sequoia puts out a hell of a lot more horsepower and torque. But I'm sure it's more than up to the job, because Mercedes tends to overbuild things like that to make sure that there will never be any failures in that department, just because it wasn't stout enough. But from this angle, you can really see what a beautiful, but you want to have this on your coffee table right here. This lower control arm of aluminum is beautiful. And there's our other shock, and there's part of our links. And what do we have in a front link to locate? Well, I can't rightly see it. That's plastic, so that's not it. No, that's metal. Well, exactly how the front is located, I'm not real sure. I'd have to go deeper down in here, and it's extremely perilous. But we do have an awful lot of ground clearance here. And like I say, I believe the suspension is on normal right now. I don't think it's on its off-road mode, and we'll put it on the off-road mode and see if anything exciting happens. Anyway, when I was in third grade, whenever our class needed to go somewhere, we would go as a group, like to lunch or to recess. We would start the process when my teacher would say in a very controlled and stately manner, "Let's rise." So that's what we're doing here. We are now rising the suspension. Before we go over the rocks and things, we must rise. And so we do. I rise. And it's blinking, and we're going higher and higher. We are becoming lofty. And all these things have to balance each other, the front and the rear suspension. And at the moment, the rear suspension, one side is compressed and the other side is extended. So it has to take all this into account to put the right amount of air in the bags to lift the vehicle and yet keep the vehicle stable in terms of they can't just have one side go way the hell up, and then you'll get all catty-cornered, and that would be a nightmare. Now let's lower. Shall we lower? All right, everyone. Sit down. This is what she would say. Actually, I don't remember what she said when it was time to sit down. Sit down. Maybe that's what she might have said. I'm not really sure. But we continue to lower and to lower and to lower. Look at that. Look at that sophistication. This is not your ordinary vehicle. This is your air-controlled suspension on your GLS 450 W4. Well, let's see what these two titans come out to on the financial front. Your 2023, excuse me, which year are you? Oh yeah, year 23 Sequoia 4-wheel drive TRD Pro Hybrid has a base price of $76,000, and with all our lovely options came to a total of $80,291. But on the other hand, if you want to spend more money, we have our 2024 Mercedes-Benz GLS 450 4MATIC, also known as a W4. It has a base price of $87,000 with all our options, including a bunch of AMG accessory types. We come to a grand total of $92,510. So, two very, very expensive vehicles. Two very different vehicles, in fact, but they're so much the same. You have two turbocharged 6-cylinder engines. One's a hybrid, one is not. You have a Mercedes-Benz that is probably a little bit happier on the street and not quite as capable off-road, whereas you have the Sequoia, which is a truck-based vehicle, body-on-frame construction based on the Tundra, that is much happier off-road than on-road, but surprisingly still does very, very well on the road as well, and even has a perfectly usable third-row seat. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Whatever the tube tells you, you dress like the tube, you eat like the tube, you raise your children like the tube, you even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion.